the war in Ukraine now in its second year. On Friday, the Biden administration continued its support by sending Ukraine a new $2 billion package of military aid and implementing new sanctions on Moscow, exactly 1 year after Russia invaded. The costs of the war on Ukraine have been staggering. According to the United Nations, about 19,000 Ukrainian civilians have been killed or injured. But officials acknowledge that the real figure is likely much higher. More than 13 million Ukrainians have been displaced, with more than 8 million fleeing the country as refugees. And the European Union's Justice Commissioner says 65,000 suspected war crimes have been reported. The conflict has been costly to the invaders as well. American and British military officials estimate 200,000 Russian troops have been killed or wounded. And since the start of the war, the U.S. has committed $32 billion in military aid to Ukraine. Christina Ruffini is at the White House with the latest on this new round of military aid. Christina, good morning.
Good morning, Dana. Well, at this time last year, predictions were bleak. A lot of governments, including the U.S., expected Ukraine to fall in a matter of weeks or months. But Ukrainians and their now world-famous president held their ground, even pushing the Russians back off some of it. Now the focus has shifted to how to try to bring this conflict to an end.
On the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, President Biden defended the more than $32 billion the U.S. has committed to help Ukraine defend itself.
The cost of walking away could be considerably higher than the cost of helping Ukraine maintain its independence.
The president also told ABC News the way to end the conflict is to help Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky negotiate from a position of strength.
He needs tanks, he needs artillery, he needs air defense.
This week, the Pentagon announced a new $2 billion assistance package, which will include ammunition and small high-tech drones. But it will not include the fighter jets Ukrainians have been asking for to defend against relentless Russian air assaults on their cities.
There is no basis upon which there is a rationale, according to our military now, to provide F-16s.
But you're not ruling it out?
I am ruling it out for now.
They are, however, getting tanks. Friday, Poland delivered the first batch of German-made Leopards and said more are on the way. But the longer the conflict continues, the harder it will be to keep NATO and European allies all on the same page.
One man, Vladimir Putin, started this war. One man can end it.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken told the United Nations Security Council Russia holds the key to resolution.
If Russia stops fighting and leaves Ukraine, the war ends. If Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine ends.
And the latest concern, China. This week, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Chinese President Xi Jinping will be coming to Moscow, possibly in the next few months. German media is reporting the Russians are negotiating with the Chinese to manufacture drones to be used on the battlefield. CIA Director Bill Burns was asked about Chinese support for Russia in an interview for Face the Nation.
We're confident that the Chinese leadership is considering the provision of lethal equipment. We also don't see that a final decision has been made yet, and we don't see evidence of actual shipments of lethal equipment.
Now, the Chinese are also among those pushing for peace. Beijing put forward a 12-point peace plan. And although it doesn't explicitly call for withdrawal from Russia and President Biden dismissed it, President Zelensky has called for a summit with Xi Jinping. Jeff?
Christina Ruffini, thank you very much.